Today's video we're going to talk about getting up to your first 3 ounces of gold, whether that is indeed 3 1-ounce coins or whether that is a mixture. So here I've got 3 ounces in 1-ounce coins. We've got a few bullion sovereigns there, but imagine there's like 12 or 13 there. We've got an ounce in quarter ounce, an ounce in tenths, and an ounce in mixed bits and pieces there. So we've got roughly 3 ounces there. We've got roughly more than 3 ounces there, but imagine. And then we've got 3 ounces here. So let's say you're looking to get to your first 3 ounces of gold. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch for you, maybe it's not really such of a challenge. Doesn't really matter, it's just about getting there and getting started. So first of all, why 3 ounces? Well, when I first started to buy gold in 2018, I didn't really want to put too much money into gold as a percentage, as a proportion, because the returns didn't really excite me in terms of what I could make trading shares, buying stocks, buying property, things like that. So ultimately, I wanted to have some money into gold, just as a bit of a backup, as part of my long-term savings. So it's incredibly liquid. It's quite nice to have the actual physical stuff rather than just have everything. It's all digital, really, isn't it? It's all numbers on a screen, rather than like actual cash and things like that. So to actually have some physical, tangible, wealth that you could touch and feel, apart from obviously you can touch your houses and things like that, but it's not the same. Just something different about having that physical metal. So I don't need to obviously win you over on the benefits of physical over digital assets and paper assets and things like that, but for today we're looking at those first 3 ounces. So I figured that roughly 1 month of basic living expenses would equate to about the 1 ounce of gold. So that's basic. Maybe my typical lifestyle, I spend more than that. Maybe you've got a bigger family, you spend more than that. But just for basics. So if I just wanted to pay the bills, don't have a mortgage or rent or anything like that, but you could probably pay an amount of rent. You could pay for food, basic living expenses, just basics. We're not talking about fancy meals and holidays and things, but just basic living expenses. So other than having like an emergency fund in cash in the bank, I wanted to have like the equivalent into gold. So whilst it wasn't much of a stretch, I could have gone and bought the 3 ounces. I thought I would just sort of average in, really. So build the position slowly and over time end up at the 3 ounces. So at the time, obviously gold was cheaper, so it was easier to buy the 3 ounces there and then. But if you are just getting into it and 3 ounces is a bit of a stretch, then I would suggest, although obviously nothing's advice here, I would suggest just going in a little bit at a time. So don't blow your entire savings and emergency fund and your money to pay the rent on gold. Not a good idea. It could go down in the short term and you might be forced to sell when your boiler breaks and then your clutch goes on your car, and then whatever else happens, all tends to happen at once. So what I would say is, if you are going for something like a 3 ounce gold to begin with, I would say to break it down into smaller chunks, especially if you haven't got the money for 3 ounces all at once. And even if you have and you're new to gold, I think again it's good to make your way in gently and just learn what you're doing on the way. So for me personally, I quite like to have a mix at the start. I was buying whatever I could get that was low premium. I didn't really worry too much about what the coins were. I just wanted to buy smaller pieces. So I did have some 1 gram bars, did have some 5 gram bars, did have other random coins like tenths, quarter ounce and things like that. Half ounce, 1 ounces. I've had various different bits and pieces over years now, but at the time I just wanted to build up and get there gradually. So what the main thing to look out for is the premiums that you're paying. So what tends to happen when you're buying, say, a 1 ounce coin, the premium for this whole ounce of gold tends to be lower. So if you're buying 1 piece at a time but it's bigger, then it tends to be that you get closer to the spot price of gold for your 1 ounce. So you might be paying like 3% over when you've had it delivered. So if the spot price was, just for easy numbers, if the spot price was 1,000 in your currency, 3% of that obviously is going to be 3% over, and so you'll be paying roughly that. If you're paying 10% over, then it would be obviously 10% over that, and so on. But when you're looking at something like a quarter ounce, the premium might be 5%. So if you buy 5 of these, it might be that you've got the same amount of gold, but it's now in 4 coins compared to the 1, and you've now got a 5% like tied up in premium. So it's cost you a couple of percent more to get this size than it has to get one of these, even if you have the same weight of gold. So the dealers will often pay back your, the buyback prices will often be about the same. So you really want to keep, lowest premiums ideally. But there is an advantage of having the smaller coins, and also if it suits your budget better, it might be better to build up in those smaller coins, even if it is a slightly higher premium. So what I would say is, just buy some different things. Buy things that make sense though. So sometimes things are very, very cheap. They're sold a long way close to spot or even under spot because, they are just like scrap. They are not, any numismatic value, and they're just going to be scrap in the future as well. They're not suddenly going to appreciate in value most likely. You do get the odd coins that do, so sometimes, like if you were collecting, this is a Tudor Beast, but if you were collecting the Queen's Beast, there were times when they seemed to sell for more of a premium, and certainly if you have the more popular coins there, they would still trade over spot price at present. So I bought this recently. This is a Canadian sovereign. This is 1919 Canada, so 1919C. It is graded MS62, and for me, I've been on this bit of a date run mission for a while, and I'm also collecting some of the different mint marks of George V. Not sure why, just like the coins, and it's just something a bit different to do. So generally speaking, you can pick up most of the Georges in bullion at bullion prices, but there are some that are harder to get dates, and also some of the mint marks are harder to get. So especially the Canada ones, 1919 is not super rare, but it's still fairly tricky to get. You're unlikely to get this come up in the best value bullion. I do have obviously some other graded coins, none here to show you today, but there is a couple of other sovereigns I've managed to keep in the graded capsule. I've broke a lot out over the time on the channel, so you'll have probably seen that, but buying something like that, it's unlikely to be super close to spot, but there are times when some collectibles or some slightly more interesting coins come up at low premiums, so you could add those. But yeah, you might just be picking up the best deals as the time comes. So let's say you're going to be buying at regular intervals, maybe 1 month or maybe every couple of weeks. Then perhaps 1 month there's a couple of half sovereigns on sale, with a bit of a lower premium than usual, so it works out to buy 2 of those. And maybe the next month, the 10th is a particularly good deal, so you buy the 10th. And over time you'll start to accumulate different things, and it might be that you get to 9 tenths and you're like, oh man, if I just get 1 more tenth, that'll push me through to the whole ounce in there. And having little milestones, little targets like that can be really, really good. So we're not here today to argue whether there's better investments than gold, but if you are deciding to take a look at physical gold, then for some people, just having something for the money, like if they put the money into a share or stock, if you're American, if they're putting the money into things like that, it's just so easy to buy and sell, press of a button, and people get a bit emotional. It's hard when you're seeing the volatility perhaps. So things like that, and if you have cash in the bank, for some people it's just too tempting to spend it. So for me personally, I'm pretty disciplined, but if you're not, perhaps if you have some issues there, obviously it'd be good to seek out the sort of root of those and try and come up with a bit of a solution. But something like buying physical gold can put that barrier between actually spending the money. So I can't just wander into the bookmakers and put a bet with this gold coin. Maybe some you could, but I'm gonna have to go and sell this, get the money, and then go to place a bet if I've got that kind of an issue. Or if we're just going to be frivolously spending on eBay or wherever it might be, Amazon, all the above, then I've got to physically go and sell this coin. So if it is, maybe it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night, you've had a couple to drink and you're just thinking, oh yeah, I could just buy that, but you haven't got the cash anymore, you've got this, so you can't just sell this instantly at that time of night and then spend the money. So you've got to, you've got that barrier there. For me personally, I keep my gold in a safe deposit box. So for me, it's an even greater barrier. I've got to go and physically get it, and then go and sell it, and then get the money. So, like I say, it's not something I personally have an issue with. I'm very disciplined, but if that is an issue for you, then it could be a strategy to get around it. So, whatever you do when you're buying physical gold, obviously remember to do your own research, but also remember not to put every single bit of money that you have into gold. I obviously believe in being diverse, but also at the same time, when you are, putting money into gold, it can be tempting to spend those emergency funds that you've got saved up for emergencies, and it really, really does put you in a precarious position. So make sure you've got healthy cash flow, whether that's from your wages or your income, whatever it might be. Make sure you've got a bit of money saved up for rainy days, because they tend to come thick and fast at times. So, you can cover your bills, you can cover those unexpected occurrences. And, for me personally, it's just part of the long-term savings. I obviously save cash in the bank. I know it's not a great return. I know there's inflation, but I just know that the opportunities come up when you just need the cash, and who moves the quickest wins. So for that reason, I've got other assets, things like that. But it is just a case of pacing yourself, going steady, and remembering the hare and the tortoise there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you're up to, what your stacking plans are, and thank you for watching.